Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Dino Fetscher, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure.
I kind of wanted to start from the beginning in a way because I found out that you weren't always Dino Fetscher, and I was curious, how you landed with this name and what made it stick.
It's my mother's maiden name that I took as an ode to her, really, because although I'm very close with my dad, my mum raised me and my brother by herself. Well, we saw my dad's on the weekend, but she's a bit of a hero, and it was a connection to my German heritage, which I discovered a bit later. So yeah, I decided to change my name and take her name. So it's just me and her with it now. So it was kind of for her, really.
Oh, amazing. Coming on to O'Mary then. Yeah, I knew very little about Mary Lincoln when I came into the show.
Okay.
How much is sort of true in the story? And did she have a teacher? And yeah.
Well, I would say, yeah, when you come in to see our play, you will leave knowing probably less about Mary Todd Lincoln because it isn't necessarily renowned for its historical accuracy. The play, when Cole wrote the play, Cole Escola, they wrote it specifically with no research in mind. So I think it was from what they had in their in their knowledge from school and what they knew about Abraham Lincoln and the events that run up. So a big fun part of it is that it is historically quite inaccurate. There were some serendipitous parts that were discovered later about Mary being a bit of a handful and having to be called down because she was spending lots of money. So there were some crossovers that were kind of accidental, but this certainly isn't a historical play. It's if you're coming for the history, the accurate history, American history, you won't get it at our play.
Yeah, I mean the show is so unapologetically funny and it's so sort of over the top in its tone. How easy or challenging has it been, keeping that energy so high throughout the run?
Yeah, I mean it is exhausting, but the writing is so brilliant and it's built in such a way that is such a gift for an actor. It's relentless and it doesn't stop, and the way it builds and it moves, it really takes you as an actor as well as the audience on a ride. But yeah, it's certainly challenging energetically. But as soon as I start, as soon as you get into the momentum, I'm just whisked up and away with it. And me as a person and as an actor, I always go very full on and all in. So it's something that's easy to go on with this play specifically in terms of energy.
Of course. I mean, it's been a few years since your last play, The Normal Heart, as well, just under 5 years ago. Why did Oh Mary feel like the perfect project to bring you back to the stage?
Oh, it was such a perfect project. Like the Normal Heart was a dream job and something I will cherish forever. This couldn't be any more different. I also just did a couple of series, which were dramas and quite heavy and emotional and wonderful to do. So then when Oh Mary came along, this opportunity, and it was just so absurd and brilliant and high octane and composed of so many different theatrical elements. It was just so exciting for me. So it's the antithesis to all of that heavier kind of stuff. I get to rip roar across the stage for 80 minutes with my amazing cast and really take all the 700 people in our theatre on a wild ride. Yeah, it's an absolute joy and it's so stupid. It's really cleverly stupid, and I am a clown. I'm very silly, so it was just such a great way of connecting to myself and getting to flex that stuff that is more ridiculous. So it was a real gift.
Yeah, I mean, the show has been such a huge hit in New York. Were you quite aware of the show's existing reputation going in, and how much freedom did you feel you had to, craft your own interpretation of this character?
Yeah, so I didn't know about the play until a few months before I had my audition. It all happened very serendipitously. Basically, someone I worked with on The Normal Heart actually and saw Oh Mary on Broadway and messaged me and was like, "Have you heard of this play? There's this part for you that you'd be great for." And I had this kind of feeling, and I sometimes get these with jobs where I've had it with lots of the jobs I've done. I had it with Normal Heart, I had it with Humans, I've had it with loads of jobs where I have this sudden real connection and excitement. So I tracked down the play, I had it ordered from America, the text, and as soon as I started reading it, I was basically just like, how do I find a way to get into this? Because this is mad and brilliant. And then, of course, I learned about the play And so by the time I came to my audition, I was very familiar with it. I did get an audition. And yeah, I went to see it on Broadway. I booked tickets to go, not knowing I was going to be in it or even audition. And I found out I was cast the day before I flew. So it was all very magical. So I got to watch it on Broadway, knowing that I was stepping into it, which was so thrilling and just like a wild dream. It was insane.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, going from rehearsals into performances, then like have all of the laughter moments been expected, or have there been times when the audience has been laughing when you were, which kind of like surprised you?
Oh yeah, totally. That's what's so wonderful about this piece is it's so rich, so dense in humor. There is an opportunity for a laugh almost on every single line, every beat. So audiences react some nights completely differently to others. Some bits that are usually more funny, perhaps are less, and other bits that people never laugh at suddenly really funny. So, we had a lot of previews for that reason, and especially because it was an American play. There were all the teams curious about how it was going to be received here, how audience were going to find it. So we had a lot of previews, which is so useful for that reason and for such a big comedy, because the audience is such an integral part of the play, as it always is, but in particular with comedy, you're really feeding off the audience. So it's different every night, and that's something that I find so exciting about it. Some audiences are really, really raucous. Some are kind of more quiet and teetering, but they're always with us. They're always coming on the journey, which is really exciting. And I've learned so much actually about comedy and about my craft through doing this play, because you have to be so responsive with the audience and really aware of them, as well as everything that is going on within the play, which is chaos. So you're spinning lots of plates at once.
Yeah, I mean, has it been hard, keeping it so straight, on stage whilst the audience is laughing as well, and then trying to, not break character?
Well, I won't lie. Sometimes, sometimes we do break. There have been quite a few times when Mason Alexander Parker plays Mary, and I get up to mischief, and something goes wrong, and then we're fighting for our lives not to crack and corpse and lose it. So that does happen sometimes. Um, but no, part of the comedy, especially with my character and the relationship Mary's teacher has, is that he's quite earnest.
Mm.
These characters aren't playing the comedy. It's funny because they're really striving to get something, to achieve something sincerely within the world of the play. They don't think they're in a comedy. They're just quite this group of ridiculous people who are actively trying to achieve something. And so I think there's a lot of humor in scenes that I have with Mary when she is off on one, but where my character, Mary's teacher, is just very sincerely with her, trying to teach her, and not aware of her complete and utter ridiculousness.
Yeah, and what has it been like, working with Mason Alexander Park as well, and working with Giles Terera as well, who's playing Abraham Lincoln?
Oh, it's been a dream, honestly. I love them both so much. It's sometimes you get these jobs that are just so special and where everything aligns and where everyone in the company and the cast is wonderful. There's no big tricky egos or people you need to avoid. Everyone is joy. I see every member of my cast or company and it's sincere joy. So it's a wonder, and it's been so wonderful working with both of them. They're such masters of their craft and so cheeky and naughty that we are genuinely having such a great time. And people always say when they see the show, "Oh my God, it looks like you're having so much fun. It just looks like so much fun." And I always say, we're having that much fun. Even though we've done it, I think we're on our like 50th show tonight.
Mm.
I'm still really excited, even when even like beginning of February and it's grey. I can't wait to get on stage and take the audience on the ride, because it's a real twisting and turning experience.
Yeah, I mean the chemistry between you all has been it's so sort of infectious to watch, like, the energy between you. And it's been interesting, seeing, how you've been doing a lot of these series and coming back to the theatre, and there's been a lot of other actors who have been coming back to the stage in recent times as well. What is it about, theatre which is sort of so irresistible for actors?
For me, theatre is a very big part of myself. It's where this all started for me. It's when I feel most alive when I'm on stage. So it's something that I kind of have to have after a certain amount of time. Usually, like after a couple of years or so, I start speaking to my team and saying, okay, we need to find a play, I need to do a play. There's nothing like it. Being on stage, every single performance is unique in itself. No one else will ever see that. And in a world where everything is so recorded and watchable and streamed, it's so wonderful to have this thing that's just singular and present in the moment. And once it's gone, you know, that show will never be there again. There'll be other shows, but there won't be that one. And connecting in a room with people like that, hearing their laughter or normal heart, you know, it was hearing them open up their hearts and being with people for that journey. It's such a privilege and a joy. And being able to reach in and affect people and make them think and take them on whatever journey that is, for me is magic, and it energizes me in this way that's hard to articulate. But that's why I love theatre, and also that side of it. But then also, I just love rehearsals. Like, I do a lot of camera work, and you don't really get any rehearsal, or if you do, it's quite lucky. It's usually minimal. So getting to be in a room with people and just playing and trying things and experimenting and failing, it's wonderful, and you become a really tight knit family, and it's kind of magical. It feels like a secret little club, and it's one of those things where I still, even backstage now, and I've been doing this for years, I still have moments every single time I do a show where like the inner child in me is going, "Oh my God, this is so cool," which I never want to lose, and theatre really taps into that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, speaking of the normal heart, yeah, I absolutely love the show. I thought Felix Turner was amazing. I thought the whole production was so well put together. Looking back, playing such a sort of complex character, did that sort of
Mm.
change, what you wanted to achieve as an actor yourself as well?
I don't know if it changed what I wanted. It was certainly an insight into what I want to do. Really getting to tap into Felix, who's such a beautifully, as you said, complex, nuanced character, such three-dimensionality, who's going through something that is so huge and hard to tap into, because it's about facing death, and it's about what it is to be a human and to be alive as a queer person in that time. I did a lot of research, and I really dug into that, and it was some of the most fulfilling work I've ever done as a result. Not only because of the work itself, but because of what it was about, because it was about HIV, the pandemic in the 80s when it hit New York, and it was and in our audiences we had so many people who'd lived through it, and then on the flip side we had young queer people who didn't know anything about it because it's not taught in schools. So it was educating, it was cathartic, it was really a spiritual experience, and it certainly made me realize why I do what I do, because I think art has the power to affect change. I think it's a really powerful way of starting conversations, of getting through barriers that pure lectures can't, a way of really wriggling into people's minds and allowing conversations to start. I think it's something beyond words, and it's magical. So yeah, Felix really changed me as a person and as an actor, and I certainly now when I look at projects, I do look at emotional scape. What is this piece about? Why does it need to be in the world? And that certainly aligns with why I pick projects in my career.
Yeah, I mean, there's a real anger to Larry Kramer's writing, of course.
Mm.
Does that still sort of resonate with you, especially in today's political climate as well?
Absolutely. Larry Kramer said that anger is useful if you know what to do with it. I completely agree with that. And I think it's very relevant to today, in this day of, when we're bombarded from every single angle on social media, when they try to exhaust us, to overwhelm us. I think it's really, really important for us, if we just look over the pond, what's happening in America with ICE and everything, the rise of the right across the world. It's really important for us to be able to galvanize and direct our anger in a way that is useful and effective. Because if we can't do that, if we stay divided, um, then that's how they get more power, and that's how they win. And that's very much what the Normal Heart was about. It was about a group of men who came together and they had these difficult conversations and they didn't stop. And then it went into, from the gay men's health crisis, that was what the play was about, into ACT UP, where people wouldn't stop, and we used our anger, that energy, to channel something, and affected real change. We got antiretroviral drugs for HIV, we changed the laws. But if we weren't able to do that, if we weren't able to stand up and use our voices and be angry, none of that would have happened. And I think it's really important for us to be angry, but more importantly for us to come together and channel that in the best way we can.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's such an important piece of history, the story that Normal Heart tells. Do you feel like it also, made a difference that you're working, performing in a cast of mostly gay actors, and that you had a gay director leading the story as well?
Yeah, that was such a privilege. It was wonderful to be in a company of predominantly queer people, because we're so used to being the minority in a company. And again, with this, it's predominantly queer. It's wonderful. And especially with the Normal Heart, when it was, I see the people who lived in that time, the lives that we lost as my ancestors, as siblings, as gay people, we do often build our own families. We have chosen families, and I mourn for all those people we lost, all the art we lost, all the wonderful things this world has never seen because of a government that didn't act. Um, yeah, so it was really important, I think, for queer people, predominantly queer people, to be on that stage telling that story. And it was just, obviously I didn't live through that time, but it permeated into my generation, and it's like you connect with it in a way that was really profound, and I think that was felt, and it was one of the reasons for the play's phenomenal success, because everyone behind it had beyond had a vested interest in it beyond wanting the play to be good, but it was about telling our story, and it was about making sure this doesn't happen again. And I think that was a part of the magic of it.
Yeah, I mean, it felt so profound, watching the story play out on the Olivier stage in the
Yeah.
National Theatre. What was it like, performing in the round as well?
Oh yeah, it was. It took a minute because the Olivier stage the theatre is so huge, and the way Dom directed it and the way it was designed, it was very sparse. So yeah, it took a minute to kind of just for me to get into it. But as soon as imaginatively I was able to make that leap, you're just carried by the text because the writing is so strong, and everyone is has such specific points of view in every argument and everything they're trying to achieve. So it actually really worked for me. There's something very Greek tragedy about it in the way people are really, really trying to achieve, and there were so many arguments and conflicts within the play, that really worked for a space in the round, I thought.
Yeah, it definitely had this arena of
Yeah,
debate. I think it worked so well
yeah,
in that
I agree.
setting. Yeah, I feel like we now also have like a real abundance of LGBTQ stories on screen and on stage. I think everyone's talking about heated rivalry at the moment. I was
Yes.
curious, what are some of your thoughts on how the community is being represented now?
Well, yeah, like you said, I think it's great. I think, I just love hearing about. I'm on episode. I think I just finished episode 3 of Heated Rivalry. I'm a little bit behind, but I'm loving it. And I heard this story which I loved because the show. I think the show is really well acted. I think it's a very simple story about love and yearning, and I think for that reason it's very affected and put together by a brilliant creative team and really stellar performances. But I heard the story that it was in Netflix's hands, but they wanted to get rid of all of the sex, and they wanted kind of some kissing in episodes. I think later episodes, like 3, I think I read. And I'm just so glad that they turned it down, and it's had this meteoric success, global phenomenal success with a small Canadian streaming company, because it just shows, and the same with this show actually, it just shows how much people do devour queer content and how powerful it is. And so in this time where, with this the administration in America and everything moving to the right, and I feel like streamers and maybe films have been backing away from queer stuff or trying not to, make it too gay. That then comes a show that is profoundly gay, and it is very, very sexualized, but done in a really filmic, beautiful way, and it is getting all the money, and it's huge because it just shows, speaking to a capitalist level. It's like, well, hey Netflix, this is popular, make this shit. And that for me felt kind of empowering when the world sometimes, when everything that's happening on the right is telling us we're in danger, or trans rights are being threatened, or queer people hate crimes are on the rise. Then there's this show that is so unapologetically, unabashedly gay, and it's hugely successful. Don't know if
Yeah.
that makes much sense, but it really resonated with me and made me go, yes, okay, good.
Absolutely, it's definitely very encouraging to see. I mean, when you look back, I feel like banana and like cucumber, they were so sort of like radical at the time as well.
Mhm.
At the time, did you feel like you were doing something that was, quite radical yourself, at the time when you were filming it too?
It's funny. I had this. Someone asked me this recently, and I'm really when I'm in the work, the gravity of projects I've done only really become aware to me with a bit of time. So, when I did Banana, it was my first TV job out of drama school, a year after drama school. I was super excited. I loved the script. But no, I didn't. It did take me some time and speaking to some people, who said, "Oh my God, I watched that. When I watched that, it had this effect on me," to really realize the weight of it and how important it was. But yeah, in the moment, apart from the normal heart, actually, in the moment, I didn't fully appreciate what we were making. So that's really cool to hold now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, some really memorable scenes as well. Where do you sort of think, Aidan Hawley would be today?
Well, do you know what I love about Banana is I love my episode of Banana. I love that it could have so easily been them getting together at the end, and it would have been like, oh, that's nice. I think it was really brave in that it kind of highlighted the harsh, sometimes real mean side of the gay scene of being gay and how, as queer people, as liberated and wonderful as we are, and the many gifts we get from being gay and going through the journey of what it is to be a queer person in a straight world, there are some downsides. We can hyperfixate on body or looks or find value in those things and seek validation from those kinds of things. So I really like that he actually just turned around and said, "No, I'm not getting with you because." I think he needed that validation from other people. He needed to have sex with all the hot guys because it made him feel more whole, and it is heartbreaking. So I really hope for Aidan, for himself, that he managed to come out of that, and I do think he did because I think he came close. I think he came close with Frank to touching that, and I think in my head he would have carried on this journey a little more, and he would have had vacuous kind of empty sex until he got to a point where he couldn't quite fill that void, and I hope he would have met someone who he was able to love, and before that, maybe, well, definitely learn to love himself a bit more. So that was my hope for him, but I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you had some like very graphic, sex scenes yourself as well, during the filming of those shows. How did you sort of begin to feel, so confident approaching those scenes, so early on in your career as well?
Well, it's funny because like now you have intimacy coordinators. In my new show, Under Salt Marsh, we have some intimate scenes, and we have Robbie Taylor Hunt. It's amazing intimacy coordinator, and it's all planned before conversations. Da, da, da. It's so wonderful. But then it was literally like, okay, and get your kit off and off you go. There was there was no help, so it was really daunting. But like I said before, I'm very much an all-in person. I'm like, okay, let's go. So yeah, it was work. It's funny because it's really not sexual. It's not sexy. It's very technical, and it doesn't feel very sexy when you're doing it. You're kind of like just moving, getting camera angles right, and then it very quickly becomes just like a dance as opposed to anything that is sexual. It's like a performed dance as opposed to something that really sexy that is happening.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. I was wondering as well, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is also
Yes.
being due to release later this year. What can audience sort of expect from your latest film too?
Oh, I loved this project so much. I was so excited to do it. It's this dark action comedy. It's ridiculous, and it's a take on where we're heading with AI. It's chaotic, really well written, really funny, but also really dark and really poignant. It's kind of like the way I describe it is like Black Mirror meets Robin Williams' Jumanji. It's relentless and silly, but then within the crux of what the film is about, it really makes you think about where we're heading and what is happening with AI. And it's really well thought out. Amazing performances from Juno Temple, Sam Rockwell, and yeah, I had a really lovely time filming it. And working with Gore Verbinski was definitely a bucket list thing to tick off because he's brilliant and we had so much fun.
Yeah, amazing. Just as the last question, what sort of advice would you give to an aspiring young actor today?
Hmm. I would say to aspiring young actor, I would say dig into the joy of the work, dig into what really excites you about this job, because there are lots of tricky sides to being an actor. Um, and if you're focused in on the social media side, the fame side, the status side, it's hollow, it's empty, it's brittle, and you can't hold on to it. But if you can dig into the reason you love this job, which for me is building characters, telling stories, taking people on this ride, being really meticulous about what a scene is, building a world imaginatively, writing backstory. If that stuff excites you, just keep digging into that. Keep reading plays, keep watching films, keep writing, keep doing the thing, and that will guide you. Don't chase the fame side of it, or don't chase the other stuff that comes with it sometimes as a byproduct, because that way hollowness lies. And I've lived that. I've had really big successes, and then had expectations about other things, and then become so sad. Or like in lockdown, I became very social media focused, and toxic self comparison, and it's just so empty. And even then, and then from that, when I've had big successes, they're never quite what I imagined they would be. So for me, it's always coming back to the artistry, and always coming back to those moments, the joy of being in a rehearsal room, the wonder of being on stage, um, the magic of being behind a camera, in front of a camera, being on a film set. That is the special stuff, and it's really easy, surprisingly easy to forget that when you're working and when you're doing stuff, because it becomes about, well, I've done this, what's next? What do I need to do? Or I need to get into this drama school. It's this drama school is better than that drama school. Don't worry about that. Just keep doing the thing. And if you can tap into the love of it and the doing of it with the love, that will guide you through.
Absolutely. Dino Fetscher, has been so lovely talking to you today.
So nice to talk to you too, Carlos.